So we are back with another video, and this time we are doing limit break. If you're new to the channel, a big welcome to you to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and I'm doing a old school series of how the Spike Brothers as a clan did transform from Siegfried, as in the first deck, General Siegfried, to the Emperor, to the Bad and Dragger, to the Ogles, to Rising, and even further. And doing so, we need to show you the deck profiles and we need to show you a combo video of those decks. Maybe in the future we'll show you games as well, because it is an idea the Blazing Paladin had to do old school decks. And I think that Vanguard is an amazing game. And throughout the years, we have had different eras. And one of the eras that we had lots of fun with was the Limit Break era. The Limit Break era, you could split it in two. The first, or maybe even in three, depending on which clan you play. The first part is the first limit breaker that you have got. For Spike Brothers, for an example, the first limit breaker with a good ability. For Spike Brothers, for an example, it's the Dudley Emperor. The Dudley Emperor is the first limit breaker that really showed the characteristics of the clan. And then the second part of the limit break era is when we have got a second limit breaker. A second limit breaker is, let's say, a limit breaker that is better than the first one, or something that when you ride on the top of it, or if you have something like this in your soul, then the other one will get an extra power, or something like that. And then you have the last part, which was the break ride. We got the break ride, and then if you have your break ride, you could break ride on top of it with another limit breaker, and then you have a combined skill. And then of course we had the reverse, but that's kind of different era. And then the reverse could work with the break ride if you have a clan that has a reverse, because not every clan has a reverse. In this video we will talk about the first part of the limit break era, so without the break ride, and then we will do another video another week where we talk about the break ride and show you a combo video of that as well. So for Spike Brothers, we had two good limit breaker. We had Dudley Lord, Dudley Emperor, and we had Graceful Catapult. Graceful Catapult was an 11k, this was a 10k, but for Graceful Catapult skill, you need to discard a copy of himself. And with Emperor, you don't need to do that. And that was the difference between those two. For my opinion, this one is better, although this one requires you to put two cards, but then you put it into your soul, which is better than just discarding. Alright, so yeah, let's just jump into it. So first it will be a deck profile, talk about the deck, and then later on this week you will have the combo video of the deck as well, if you're interested to see that. If you're interested to see the first deck of Spike Brothers, you could check it out. It is General Siegfried, also with a combo video. Alright, the rules are very simple. You could play any cards that fit into the deck. Of course, you cannot play GB restricted card because you don't have first right. You cannot play Legion cards because we don't play Legion. And you don't play Break Ride. That's it. Of course, no V, no D. But anything else is playable in this deck. Alright, so first we have the 4 copies of the Dudley Emperor. So Demonic Lord Dudley Emperor is a beautiful card with an amazing skill. Its skill is very simple. You need limit break. Well, simple. Simple for a Spike Brother player that have played the clan for a very long time. But what he does is actually limit break 4. You can't blast 2. Choose 2 cards with Spike Brothers as a clan. So it needs to be from the same clan, because back in the days you could mix the decks. And you put those cards into your soul, and then this basically happens when you attack your Vanguard, so you need to attack your opponent's Vanguard, and then you will search your deck for up to 2 Spike Brother cards. You call them to separate open rearguard circles, and then you shuffle your deck. That's the first ability. If this unit is boosted by a Spike Brother card, this unit also gets an extra 3k. That's his second ability. So it's as good as that. It just attacks, can't blast 2, put 2 cards from your hand into your soul, and then you call 2 rear guards. That's it. Why is this card so good? Well, basically you will have 3 waves of attacks and then have 2 more attackers, so that's 5 attacks just like that. It costs you a counter blast of 2, so you could do it twice a game, I would say. Sometimes you could do it 3 times, but you need to heal because this deck doesn't play counter chargers. Alright, to support this grade 3, we do not play any other grade 3 that is a right target. So the only 2 cards that you play are 2 copies of Skydiver and 2 copies of Juggernaut Maximum. And that's basically it for your grade 3s. There is no reason to rewrite in this deck. There is no reason to have anything else. There is no reason to play more of these because it's not like the General C3 deck that needs grade 3s to call. So basically, this is your best or strongest attacker, and this is one of the cards that could give you extra attacks, but that's basically it. You don't really need anything else to play. Alright, that's it for the grade 3s, I'm only playing 8s. For the grade 2s, we start with another 4 copies of Dudley Mason. This card is just insane. It gives you a very, very, very strong early game, but not only that, this card also gives you the option to multi-attack even during the Dudley Emperor turn. If you know that your opponent doesn't have many cards left in their hand to guard, then you could call these from your deck with a second wave of attacks, and then you could have a Juggernaut on the other side, attack with it, let it go out of the field, and then you have these. If you don't know what these do and you haven't seen the first video, the same goes for the Juggernaut and the Skydiver, then it's easier if you saw the first video, so I don't have to explain all of them again, but I think this is a good card to explain, and I could zoom in later on the Juggernaut and the Skydiver as well. So what he does is when this unit attacks, hits a Vanguard, you count +1, you choose a card from your hand, you put it into your soul, and then you may call a card from your deck to an open Vanguard circle and shuffle your deck. That's basically it. So it's an amazing card. Hits, count +1, a card from your hand to your soul, you call to an open Vanguard circle. That's it. You play Ford because, again, he is your best right target. So yeah, that's why. All right. And the next card you play is the 4 copies of Heat Element Bois. The reason why you play 4 is because you really want to have your Dudley Emperor and you want this guy to hit. Sometimes what you do is you call, you attack with Mason, you call this, and you have this attack again boosted, make it stronger. And that's the way that you could get your Dudley Emperor to your hand. You also play lots of draws, but you really want this guy to hit. That's basically it. Another from that, while having this on the field, if it attacks and hits, the good thing about it is it retires itself, so it does leave an open Vanguard circle behind it. Insert your copy of a Limit Breaker, put it into your hand, which is always good, a card that you could discard or whatever. So that's why it's always kind of a +1, so it's not bad because you want your Vanguards to go out of the field. And last but not least, for the grade 2s, we play 3 copies of Devil Dome. You could play Braki. We played Braki back in the days, but now because this card is playable, you do play this. In this deck, to be honest, the Braki is good as well because you don't get the boosts from cards like the Bad End Dragger. But this deck will shine when you combine it with the Break Ride, because this deck without the Break Ride, it loses the power that these attacks make. And having 5 attacks with all of them having the extra 10k makes a huge difference. And that's the reason why Devil Dome is in here, because I switch this deck very easy with some few cards, and then you change it to the Break Ride version. But for now, you could take these out to play Braki. It will be almost the same power. If you don't boost him, or if you don't give him a trigger, if it's just the 6k, then the Braki is better. So what's his skill? His skill is very simple. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost, which is a Soul Blast of 1, and then you double his power. So he's only a 6k, and he will become 12. And then at the end of the battle, he goes to the bottom of your deck. Braki, on the other hand, he's a 9k, he gets 5k, so it becomes a 14k. But the 14k attacking into an 11k or a 10k doesn't really matter, or it's 14 or it's 12. But when you boost this guy, then he becomes stronger than a Bracky because he doubles the power that you boost him with as well. So that's the reason why in most situations this guy will always be better than a Bracky. But I think for this deck it doesn't really make that big of a difference because if Bracky's boosted by a 6k or a 7k, it would still hit the 2021 numbers. And this guy, if he's boosted, for an example, by 6k, then it becomes 12, it becomes 24. So it is still not that big of a difference. All right, that's it for your grade 2s. Now we go for the grade 1s. Of course, we start with PGs. I have the 2 arts in here because I love them. You play Marjorie, or sorry, Marlin, Marjorie. You play the 4 copies of Marlin as she's your perfect guard, and you play 4 copies of Wonder Boy. The reason why we play Wonder Boy in this deck is simple. Wonder Boy boosts the Dudley Emperor, makes the perfect 21 number, and the perfect 21 number will be hard for your opponent to deal with if you keep doing it. Is there a reason to play 4 Wonder Boys in this deck? I don't think so. As I said, this build is more made to work with the break ride because, as I said, I changed them very, very, very easy. But what would you play if you don't want to play Wonder Boy? You could play the Limit Break Enabler, which is Elsa or Eliza. No, I think Elsa. Elsa's the name. Is she in here? There you go. You could play more Elsas if you want to, but I just really, really want to have the 4 Wonder Boys. I want to ride into him because he's an 8k, he's a good body, and I don't want to search him with my starter, which is Mega Trainer. I wanted to have him in my hand so I could just call him right away, and I use my starter to call the Marjorie to add her to my hand. So that's the reason why I play 4. But do you really want to play 4? I mean, do you have to play 4? No, you don't. You have other cards if you want to add them to the deck. But I like the deck to be as consistent as it can. 4 copies of Reckless Express. Is it necessary to play this? Yes, very much. Why? Because you want something that could leave an empty Vanguard circle behind it. The Express will attack for a 7k, it gets a 5k, it becomes a 12k. 12k will hit almost anything, which is good. And then after that, he goes back to the deck, you shuffle your deck, and you attack with your Emperor, and you call whatever. So that's why the Reckless Express is a very, very, very good card. You call it in the early game behind one of your Vanguards, and then you move it later on when you go into that big turn. Then you play the 2 copies of Elsa. This is a limit break enabler. If you don't know what it does, basically if you have this on the field, you will have your limit break active. So that's it. And it's very good because sometimes back in the days, if your opponent thinks that he could not finish you this turn, sometimes they leave you at 3 damage. And having this on the field means you will always be able to use your limit break ability even if you're at 2 damage. And this deck could use the ability if it's at 2 damage. For the triggers, we play a total of 6 draw triggers. We play the Dudley one in this deck. It's not Dudley, but I see it as a Dudley. It looks like a Dudley. And then, of course, we play the Nixon, we play Paulin. For the crits, we play the 4 copies of Silent Joker, and we add Sonic Break to that. And for the heals, as you know, I like to play in every deck another heal. In the first one, we play Tiara, and this one we play Sandra. And for the starter, I play Mega Trainer in this deck, because this deck could go from the 1 CB to 3 to 5. So the only card that could make a difference if using it is the Dudley Mason, and from that moment on, you need to countercharge using your Silent Joker, or you need to countercharge using just a heal trigger if you heal. So that's basically it. Other cards that you could add to the deck. Yes, you could build the deck differently if you build it with cards like Graceful Catapult. But in your great ones, you actually have a lot of space. You could add different cards, but the cards that you can't add is cards that cost Counterblast. Cards that you could add is cards that help you to make your hand more I would not say consistent, but more playable, or to have the right pieces. But in this deck, you don't really need the right pieces. There are no right pieces except riding into the Dudley Emperor. That's basically it. That's the only thing you really, really, really want to do. From that onwards, you could play more Elzas, yes, but again, it's not a big difference. If your opponent leaves you at 3 damage, sure, just beat them down with your Vanguard attacking for 21 the whole time, and your Rearguards attacking for 16, 17, and 20 if you have to, by using the Double Dome ability. So yeah, is there a reason to play like more Limit Break enablers? I don't think so. Is there another counter charger that you could play in the deck? No, the only one is actually Silent Joker. Again, the Devil Dome you could exchange with Bracky, but it's very, very, very good, especially when you boost it or you give it power from your drive checks. This is just to add the right limit breaker to your hand, which is the only one we play, which is Dudley Emperor. And then, of course, the Dudley Mason playing out for basically your best right target. Are there another great 2s that you could play? Yes, the deck actually has a lot of great 2s that you can add. From Olivia, the one who retires, from Zachary's, the one who draws, from the Devil Summoner, the one who randomly calls from the top of your deck. You have really a lot of options, but to make the deck more consistent, I think this is the best way to play it. And with that, you will have no strange hands. Another card that you could play in this deck is just Treacherous Black Panther, which is the 10k body. That's also good because you could ride into it and it will take your opponent harder time, especially if you're chilling on with the grade 2 to get rid of it. But I think that the Dudley Mason is a better card. It's a card that puts more pressure on your opponent, and sometimes just let them discard cards that they don't want to, or do a one to pass, which is always good. To zoom back on the Skydiver and the Juggernauts, because I told you that I will explain their skills. The Skydiver is a very amazing card. The first ability, if you don't have a spike with the unit, he gets minus 2k, but that doesn't happen in this deck because you play all spikes. And then the ability, which is the reason why you play him, is that when this unit attack hits, it doesn't need to hit a Vanguard, you pay the cost, is putting him into your soul, and then you choose up to 1 spike with a unit from your hand, you call it to Vanguard Circle, and then that's it. So he doesn't have to call to open Vanguard Circle, he goes to the soul himself, he's just an attack extender. It's the same as Dudley Mason, but this one doesn't cost a CB, and he's an 11k, of course, because it's a grade 3. The Juggernaut, on the other hand, is a very different card. It's a card that is the same as High Speed Bracky or Reckless Express, which is the first ability the same as the Skydiver. If you don't have a spike with it, you get minus 2k. But the ability where the reason is why we play this card is when this unit attacks, doesn't need to attack a Vanguard, you soul blast 1, it gets 5k. Now at the end of the battle, it goes to your deck, you shuffle your deck. That's it. It's another card that could give you open Vanguard circles. Alright, now we talk about the starter, and we talk a little bit about the triggers. The starter, you have also different options. You have the option of the starter that you count +1, you check the top 5 cards for a grade 3, you add it to your hand. That would be a good card, especially to add the Dudley Emperor to the hand, but Mega Trainer is better in my opinion. Because Mega Trainer could just give you the right grade 1, and with that you will have a PG on the hand, or you have a Wonder Boy that you could not get because you lost all of them in your damage and whatever. So that's why Mega Trainer is just better. Count +1, retire this unit, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less, and you add it to your hand. The triggers, this will stay the same. There is no reason to play less than 6 crits. You could play more draws if you want to. But I think that the deck works best the way it is. You don't play fronts, of course, in this deck. Even if you boost with a trigger and then you want to restand it, I think that's still a waste. Alright, if you're interested to see this deck in action, I will show you a combo video. That video will be soon on the channel as well, in 2 days or something like that. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Or check the channel because the video will be on the channel very, very, very soon. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in our channel. I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying these kind of videos. They are also not long videos and they just give you the the old school vibes to how the Spike Brothers were back in the days if you're interested in the clan. But especially for people that really love to see these kind of decks in action, I think that this is a right opportunity, especially with the combo video, to have an idea of how spikes worked back in the days. And this is a deck that could show you that very, very, very well. Right. Thank you again. Until next time.